So you found yourself in mount. Good job, congratulations. Let's start attacking your opponent, okay? Generally speaking, when you get to mount, ideally you already have one or both underhooks where you can start using the system immediately, but sometimes you don't. Sometimes you get to mount and your partner is already defending like this, right? Smother System, John Donaher, YouTube is free. It's a 15-minute video, go look it up, okay? We're basically ripping off that system today. So if I'm going to my left, I'm attacking my opponent's right arm on the left side of my body because we're mirror stance right now. My right hand is going to be inverted, okay? At the wrist here, left hand at the elbow. From here, it is imperative that you don't bench press your opponent. No, no, no. You lock your arms out and you load your weight onto it until he exhausts himself and you get that arm to the floor. Very big difference between me doing, give me a lot of resistance. Big difference between doing this and like wasting my own energy and give me a lot of resistance. And me just kind of chilling here, chilling, I'm chilling, I'm chilling, I'm chilling, I'm chilling. I'm literally just loading my body weight. I sacrifice nothing while he gets more and more desperate, okay? Opens him up to things like back takes and arm bars, obviously on the other side, but we're not gonna work that today, okay? So, you got your opponent's hand to the mat. The hand that was on his wrist is gonna go over and behind his neck as tight as possible. That's gonna allow your hand at the elbow to sneak underneath his elbow with your palm on the floor. Your opponent by now knows that he needs to keep his elbows close to his body. So go ahead and keep your elbow close to your body. Exactly, here. As long as I'm underneath his elbow, I'll be okay. Okay? Watch what I do. I spider walk my fingers up until I hit a point of maximum resistance, where I physically can't drag my fingers along the floor anymore. That's when I use my arm like a ratchet and my spine like a fulcrum. Okay? So from here, my palm stays on the floor. Everybody's lifting their hand up. Don't. My palm stays on the floor. As I straighten out my left arm, I shift my head to the right. Boom. Everybody saw what that did to his arm, right? Now, as I bring my head back, I start to spider walk again until I hit more resistance. Boom. I physically can't go anymore. No problem. Ratchet over one more time. Boom. Spider walk over. Ratchet. Spider walk over. Ratchet until his arm is on the other side of my head. But watch. My right hand, the one that's around his neck, is now grabbing his armpit here. Okay? My other hand is going to hold my own elbow, and I get my head to the side of his elbow here. Okay? Let's look at that again, because that's going to set up our chokes. From here, inverted cross grip. Here, other hand at the elbow. Load my body weight onto it until I exhaust him to the floor here. Okay? If you let go, that right arm's going to be around his head here, other hand below his elbow. Okay? Now he's trying to get his elbow and keep it close to his body, right? Too bad, my arm's in the way. Spider walk up until I hit resistance, ratchet. Spider walk up, ratchet. Spider walk up, ratchet. Keep going until I can hold his armpit and I can hold my other elbow. Now I should be able to get my head to the other side of his tricep. And we're gonna stop right here for now. Any questions? All right, on three. 1, 2, 3, go! So, we're just gonna go over the head and arm choke today. I realize that it's not always viable. Your opponent can do like little things to get themselves out of position. We're gonna go over all the good stuff next week as well as the head and arm choke, but we're just gonna start it with the head and arm choke because it's I would risk the least going for it, okay? If I go for the back or go for the arm bar, there's a good chance, not a good chance, there's a bigger chance that I lose position. With the head and arm choke, that threat is a little bit less, so I'm gonna start with that and we're gonna get to more complicated stuff later, okay? So again, we did everything correct. Boom, isolated that arm, got around the head here, got under the elbow, spider walk, ratchet. Spider walk, ratchet, I'm grabbing his armpit as soon as I can. Spider walk, ratchet, again, don't keep going up. At a certain point, you're gonna make a halo around your opponent's head here. Now I can comfortably get it to the other side of my head and hold my own elbow here. If I wanna get the head and arm choke, my shoulder needs to be below his jaw, which I can feel it right now, is not. So what I'm gonna do is, from here, you can keep the double enclosure here or you can let go. I prefer to let go. What I'm gonna do is I'm literally gonna shift my body down until I feel I'm underneath his jaw and then come back up here. Couple things that can go wrong from here. As you shift your body down, you're giving your opponent space to get their arm on the other side of your head. Just be aware of that, okay? Sometimes they'll get out and you'll have to spider walk again. You'll go for an arm bar or back take from here. Sometimes you'll be able to keep it tight, okay? One way to keep it tight is make sure your head is down. Now I go back. My shoulder, I can feel, is underneath his jaw, and now I go forward. Let's get to the finer points of the head and arm choke here. I'm gonna relieve the pressure on Ernest a little bit. My right arm is the arm that's around his head. That means my right palm is gonna face the floor and my left palm faces the sky. Everybody clear on that? So the arm that's around his head, if I'm wearing a watch, I should be able to look at my watch on the arm that's around his head, okay? My right arm is around his head, right palm faces the floor, left palm faces the ceiling. To explain it like 3 different ways, okay? From here, there's a couple different ways we can finish this choke. If you don't want to sacrifice the mount position, this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna take your grip, you're gonna pick your partner, I hesitate to say pick your partner, you're gonna roll your partner, and you're going to deposit your grip as far underneath your opponent's shoulder as possible, okay? Again, right now I'm perpendicular to his neck. If I want to stay in the mount position, I clear that shoulder, bring my grip as far down underneath the shoulder as possible, and then get back to that position here. Now from here, all I do is a slow squeeze underneath his jaw for the tap, okay? If you want to dismount, that's fine. Again, I'm on the right side of his body, my left. You're gonna take your right leg, you're not gonna pick it up. You're gonna windshield wiper over, so he can't get you in the half guard. And then you can get flat to the ground. As you squeeze, you're gonna start walking to your left for the finish, okay? All of those things are predicated, okay? All of those things are predicated on your shoulder being underneath his jaw. So let's look at that again. I got to that great head and arm position, right? Spider walk crank, all that good stuff. Double enclosure here. I can feel that I'm over his jaw. It's gonna be uncomfortable for him. It is not gonna put him to sleep, so let's fix it. From here, I drop my head, and I drop my, again, you don't have to let go. I just let go because I'm not very flexible. As I drop my head, I slide my body down until I'm underneath his chin, and then I slide back up, okay? From here, my right arm is around his neck, so my right palm is facing down, left palm facing up. If you want to stay in the mount, I roll my opponent for shoulder exposure, bring my grip as far underneath his shoulder blade as possible, and then settle him back here. Make sure your right arm is still tight. From here, I simply squeeze and lean in for the finish. If I want to stay perpendicular, or if I want to dismount, again, this is all predicated on my right arm being tight against his neck. I'm going to take my right leg, reverse windshield wiper so you can't put me in the guard. Everything drops to the floor, right? My butt's not up. Everything drops to the floor. I squeeze as I walk to my left. Sorry, head's about to explode. Any questions? Try both ways. I always used to finish it dismounting. I really like staying in the mount from now on. I still haven't gotten the finer points yet, so my finishing ratio isn't that high, but I'm starting to dial it in a little bit. Any questions? Good? All right, on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Welcome back, guys. We got Khaled on top and Youngju on the bottom here. Looks like Khaled's already gotten started on the head and arm choke. Okay, a couple of things we have to address right here. Number 1, the grip. This grip is probably not going to work. You want a gable grip or an S grip. And number 2, just as important, you cannot let your elbow lift off the ground here. This elbow has to be flush to the floor. That way you're making sure your opponent is pinned. Also, it'll allow you to pull your grip further towards you, making the bite arm, for lack of a better word, tighter around your opponent. Let's see if Khaled makes the adjustment. So I think he was saying that Youngju's body is so thick that he can't keep his elbow flush to the floor, and that is going to happen sometimes. Another thing, we can see here that Khaled has not made the adjustment of dropping below Youngju's jaw, so he's got to address that before anything else. Looks like he's already about to dismount, but we'll see if he makes the adjustment. Yep, so he dismounted without making any adjustments. Okay, one adjustment he did make is his elbow is a little bit more flush to the floor. I would say that's acceptable only because Youngju's pinned right now, and he does have a gable grip on this side. But like we mentioned before, his shoulder is not in the correct position. He might get like a jaw crank out of here, but it's not going to be an effective choke. Sinks to, so okay, stop. We already see his elbow lift off the floor even more as he settles position. That elbow is priority. So if you sink down and you feel your elbow lifting up, no good. Yeah, and again, we see Khaled trying to make the adjustments from here. No good. You have to make the adjustments before you decide to dismount or before you decide to set the choke in. He's just running uphill at this point. Yeah, he's got to get all the pieces in order before he decides to dismount. Got Ernest on top and Nate on the bottom. Ernest gets that separation. I'd like to see him keep his hand by the elbow next time. Not bad. Gets the right arm around the head. Starts working the system. Good. Right arm holding the armpit. Kinda. Makes the adjustment. Obviously, Nate is not resisting a lot right now. Ernest has to get his shoulder in position. Think he's got it. Can't quite see. Might be able to get this. There we go. Again, as you're adjusting, there is a danger that your opponent will bridge or get their arm out of position. I'm not going to say that's okay, but usually they fall right back. They'll escape in a manner where they're still in the smother system, where you can kind of spider walk and arm crank your way back to that head and arm choking position. Goes for it again. Gets the separation. Good. That was a little bit better. I don't like, let me explain. I don't like when people use their hand to push the arm over. It's not critical, but it's a sign that you're not walking your opponent's arm far enough. So again, sometimes you have to use it, but try and get to that position without using your hand. Here we got Youngju on top. Gets that separation. If I were him, I would invert that hand, but worked out either way. Got the right arm across the head. Now he's going to spider walk and crank. Yep. He's got to leave his palm a little bit more stable on the ground. I'm nitpicking here. It's not too bad. Yep. Yep, there we go. He's making a circle around his opponent's head now. Okay, he keeps lifting his palm up. Now it's a little bit more solid on the floor. Obviously, Ernest helping him out a little bit. He's got to drop his head a little bit. Yeah, because you could see Ernest's arm already popping out here. So really make sure that your head is firmly behind your opponent's tricep. They should not be able to get their right arm out. And Ernest's definitely going to be able to get it out again. That's a little bit of a better position. He's got to connect his hands together. Gonna hit the dismount. Hopefully he does it smart. And windshield wipers. Oh, we ran out of time. Ernest on top again. Lots of resistance from Youngju here. But again, time will overcome that resistance because you're just loading your body weight on it. Again, your opponent's probably not going to just stay there and take it, but better than nothing. Here, gets his arm across. It's the gable grip. Ernest having a tough time getting his chin underneath Youngju's. That I would argue that was a little bit more of a crank. I did not see his shoulder underneath Youngju's jaw. So we get a little better angle on this side. If you can see in the background, Dave doing a very good job getting underneath Sam's chin here for the choke. In the foreground, Ernest going for the Smother System on the opposite side. Gets it. He might be able to get it here. Youngju doing a good job tucking his chin. And again, we have options next week of what happens if you don't get the head and arm choke. Okay, I do not like the way Ernest just dismounted. It's a very good way to get caught in the half guard. So if you just pick your leg up and around like Ernest did, right here, you're going to get caught in the half guard. Again, your foot should windshield wiper over first, so your opponent has minimum chance of putting you back in the quarter guard or half guard. And you can see here, he's working more of a face crank on this side. Yeah, and I don't like it. Got Gabe on top of Khaled. Gabe gets that separation. Left arm hooks the head. Spider walk and cranking. There we go. That's a very good example of the spider walk crank. Good. Tucks it into position. Got long arms, so that helps. Looks like he's underneath the jaw mostly. I'd like to see him rewind a little bit. So keep your eye on Gabe's left shoulder here. Right now it's firmly low and kind of underneath Khaled's jaw. As he dismounts, everyone saw it kind of rise a little bit, right? Make sure your weight and your intention is still going down into your opponent. And that's another reason why you tap your opponent and not the mat, because your opponent might not hear you. And goes for it again. Spider wall crank, spider wall crank. Good. I'd like to see him pull that choking arm a little bit tighter. So I'd like to take it for him to take his right hand, pull his left hand this way, make sure that this arm is seated tightly against Khaled's neck. Got Josh going for the technique on Khaled here, working that crank very effectively. Khaled giving a little bit of resistance. There we go. You saw Josh make the adjustment of really bringing that arm over Khaled's head. Oh, he's about to get it out now. Over. That was a very late. That was a bad timing by Josh. Let's look at what happened again. So everything was going good. Khaled's doing something smart and leaving his arm in front of Josh's body here. You got to see he almost got his arm out here, but Josh made the adjustment, got it back. He decides to dismount while Khaled is bridging. No. Wait for your opponent's bridge to die. Again, you don't have to dismount to finish this technique. There are ways to finish it in the mount. That's the beautiful part about it. From here, by dismounting while Khaled was bridging, he basically gave Khaled an angle of escape here. And if your opponent is not pinned, it's going to be very hard to finish that choke. Got Dave on top, attacking Josh with a little bit of resistance. Ooh, Josh doing a good job trying to buck out. Manages to turn to his side. Let's see if Dave can salvage the situation good. So we all saw Dave just walk to the right to get Josh's hips kind of flat to the floor again. Going for that spider walk. Good. Okay, here we run into a problem where both of your opponent's arms are inside. In this case, Josh has connected his left hand to his right forearm. From here, you're not going to get a good smother position. You might be able to get it, but if your opponent's arms are connected, usually they have enough of a frame where you're just running against the wall. I would recommend that he either gets rid of this arm or switches to something else. Let's see what Dave decides to do. Oh, Josh let go. Josh let go and voluntarily took his hand out. So, if I were Dave, I'd do exactly what he's doing right now and just stay with it. Again, the beautiful part about this is Josh escaped his elbow out, but very easy to get it right back. Every time your opponent makes a big movement to try and escape the position, gets a little bit more tired each time. There we go. Dave should be able to get it in position. There we go. Josh really fighting to get that elbow back, which is smart. Khaled on top. Going after Dave. Having trouble separating the arms. So it looks like he's going for the head without separating the arms. I'm not quite sure what his plan from here is because it's going to be harder to separate the arms from there. Again, he's got to invert his grip. Definitely don't do that. Definitely don't start lifting your weight off your opponent. So he's got to, again, invert one grip on the wrist and put his other hand on the elbow. Got Dave's arm separated here now, but okay, now he's kind of working the crank system. Dave's arm is still in an awkward position. Again, I would invest a little bit more time trying to get Dave's arm in a better position. Okay, he connected his hands way too soon. I can't quite tell what his intention is. But from here, he should just be sinking his weight down, keeping that mount position, doing a good job with the grapevines. You should be spider walking this arm up and over here and just working the crank system, even if your opponent's hand is trapped inside. Again, we didn't get to it today, but we are going to go over arm bars and things next time. So I can't quite tell what he's going to do, and he's about to run out of time. Looks like he was just trying to force the position there with a gable grip. Usually not going to work. The win on top, running it with Ern. Okay, so from here, we have to be careful. By virtue of being underneath your opponent's arm, we do give them like the first part of a trap and roll. Dewin is doing something very smart right now where his arm is out wide. We can see Ernest's arms are connected here, and his intention is probably to roll Dewin this way. So again, at least initially, until you get your opponent's arms separated and in that kind of almost vertical position, your post needs to be way out here like Dewin is now. If Dewin were to be lazy with that post or bring it in here, Ernest might be able to trap and roll him. Now Ernest escaped the position completely. And Dewin was going back for it and trapped his arm, and he rolled him. Again, you have to be vigilant with your body positioning, and you have to be vigilant with your legs as well. I've noticed myself when I use this system, my legs are much more active with the grapevines and trying to tie my legs, cross my legs underneath my opponent's body, things like that. Dewin's having a tough time trying to isolate the elbow right now. He got it, but now look, his post is so close. So he achieved that. Where's the marker? He achieved that elbow position. So he's underneath Ernest's elbow. However, Ernest is smart, connected his hands together, and look how close Dewin's arm is to his own body, Ernest's body. There's no post here. He's definitely going to get rolled to this side. Go for it again. Ernest connects his hands. Can't quite see where Dewin's arms are from here, but I'm assuming... Oh, there we go. Ran out of time. Got Charlie going for the technique on Ernest. Got a little bit too much space between him and Ernest. I'd like to see him spread his knees out a little bit and drop. Well, first of all, don't get rolled over. But it happens. Seems to reset it. Again, we saw the same problem. I fast forwarded a little bit too much. So we're here. They're fighting. He gets that position underneath Ernest's elbow, but Ernest knows it's coming, connects his hands together. More importantly, again, it shouldn't matter where your opponent's hands are connected or not. When you get that elbow under position, have your hand initially out wide to act like a post. Because remember, you've kind of trapped your own arm on the other side by hugging your opponent's head. Your weight is offset here, so you don't get rolled, in this case, to the right. So you have to make sure that your post is active on this side as well. Charlie's isn't, and Ernest gets the bridge. Reset. Here we go. Let's see if Charlie makes the adjustment. Nope. Arm was still way too close. Run it back. Now his arm's in a little bit of a better position. He might get rolled to the right though. His weight's too far to the right. We can all see it right now. Okay, now he might get rolled to either side because look, in order to adjust, he brought his post back in here. We can see that his right arm is hugging Ernest's head, so he's got no post on the other side. And his weight seems to be pulled slightly to the right. And very importantly, his legs are not active right now. He's got no grapevines, no ties. So I would be surprised if he doesn't get bridged from here. Boom. Got Ernest on top of Charlie now. Charlie trying to buck. Oh, that was an excellent armbar by Ernest. Let's look at that again. Charlie turns to his side, exposes his arm, tries to sit up, and we see Ernest rides the wave, throws the leg over, sits back with a nice armbar. Charlie defending. Obviously, Ernest was going very slowly and gets the armbar. Very good. We go at it again. Charlie making the same mistake. Makes a wise adjustment. Oh, but his arms are exposed. He's got to shrimp without coming up off the floor, if that makes sense. Like he's got to leave his shoulder on the ground. Got the quarter guard. I think he should be able to escape. There we go. Almost walked into a scissor sweep from there. They go again. They're going to run out of time.